Okay, now you should be hearing me loud and clear. Thank you guys. I love it, especially on the nights. Well, really, I just love it all the time. Oh, thanks for checking in, Kelly. That's awesome. I love it when you guys check in like that. That's so funny. But be safe and responsible. I'm sure Kelly is driving a Tesla or something with autopilot. Just checking. Anyway, she said red light, right? So she's being responsible. Okay, cool. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining me. My computer's been doing wacky stuff. I don't know why. I think I've actually got it figured out. But I really appreciate one thing. It's hard. It's hard for me to know when my mic is out initially, but I don't know if you guys remember this. When we first started doing this, my mic would go out all the time, or I wouldn't turn my mic on, and I would go like a whole class. But I've changed it up about 1.5 years ago, and so now I actually hear me through my sound system behind me, so I know when my mic's on for the most part, but I don't know if it's not broadcasting out at first, so I really appreciate when y'all tell me that. Okay, so I don't want to waste too much time here. Taking down the tree. Brad, wow, all right. Brad, I don't know if you're just passing through or you're going to take the class. If you're going to take the class, which of course I hope you are, it's better on YouTube. Facebook I broadcast in these really funky dimensions, and it's especially bad on Facebook. Plus, they bring it down for copywritten music. Okay, so I've got some ideas here. So I want to just set this up super fast and make sure. Hold on a second. Okay, so I want to set this up super fast to explain to everybody what this is and what this is not. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I hope the power stays on at least for the next hour for both of us. All right, well, stay safe up there, Carla. So what this is and what this isn't. If you can do this whole test, you're a really good core hooper. You might not know that, but you can't. You are. And it might seem like I'm being a little cocky to say like, well, I obviously can do the whole thing, so I must be a good core hooper. But I've been hooping for 20 years now, and I think I can say I'm a good core hooper, right? And I think, and if me saying it and coming off like some sort of egomaniac helps you have a little bit more confidence, step into your core swag, and if you can do this whole thing, at least from what I have seen of the hoop community as of 3 years ago, you would be an exceptional core hooper if you could do this entire test. And so what the whole thing about the test is it's not I'm not testing you. This is just a way for you to sort of say like, okay, I trust Baxter's core hooping. He's been core hooping a long time. I'm going to see how much of his thing can I keep up with, right? And over the years, Jackie in particular, I'm not even the best at this anymore. Like, people have surpassed me in this. But what this test is like a self-test for you to say like, okay, if I wanted to, if I concede that somebody could be a black belt at core hooping, what would that black belt look like? And then how much of what they can do can I do? Okay, and so that's the whole thing. And so it's just meant to be fun. If you can't do this, it doesn't mean you're a crappy hooper. Nothing should mean ever that you're a crappy hooper, right? Like, as long as you stay out of competition, I don't really see how that would ever be helpful to think that way. Yeah. I did just throw down a challenge. Hey, Ariana, I just realized something. You guys are running me. Yeah, well, Lisa, so here's something that we used to do, and this is something I borrowed from martial arts. I have never taken martial arts. I have studied it, like, as far as like a belief system or whatever, but I have not taken it, and I do not represent a martial art, and I've never told anybody I was a martial artist or anything like that. I just like respect it. Like I've never played baseball competitively, but I know a lot about it. Okay, so why did I just say that? All that. This is when having another student in the room is helpful. Oh yeah, so one of the things that I got from martial arts was that they would move the black belts towards the front of the room and then progress away from that, so that like the lower belts were seeing not 4 steps ahead. They were just seeing what the next progression would look like for them. So whatever the belts are, like, the black being front, white being back, and you would sort of be there. And so I would set that up in the Hoop Path workshops, and I promise we're going to start hooping, but I would set that up in the Hoop Path workshops, and then I toured every city every year, right? And so what would happen is I'd throw down this kind of gauntlet here, and slowly people would start to make their way up to the black belt row. And I'm not going to get crying, but it was so awesome to watch because it represented so much. One, it represented that they had been working on it. 2, it represented that they knew those skills were going to show up in front of me and in the entire room. And 3, it just meant that they had the confidence in their own work, right? To to move up. I mean, there were always somebody that would just jump on the front row before they realized what they had just gotten into. But I watched people work, and by the end of my touring in some cities, especially in Toronto, the front line would be crowded. There'd be so many people ready to show up and be there for themselves. Okay, so if you understand this whole pep talk, then you understand what this is and what it's not. Okay, let's get going. All right, so what I'm going to do here, I just realized I don't have... Oh well, I think it's just going to have to be black behind me for right now. I don't really want to... I'll do this while maybe you guys are working on a song or something. I'll fix it. Oh, I have a surprise for you guys. All right. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get going with the sway then. Because what I was getting at is that we're going to jump into core hooping. No, this is a very exhausting, I mean, I can pretty much promise you back in the day when all this stuff got started, that the hooper body didn't come from isolations. It came from all the core hooping that we were doing, or that they were doing, right? And so it is exhausting. All right. This sway is going to be hilarious. Okay, before we jump into it, we're going to wake up and activate the entire body. Tonight, in our opening movement, activate is the key word. For me, I activate through something called sway. I let my body do whatever it wants to do, and I do my best to keep that body in motion. And that's it, and that's all a sway is. It's you moving the way you want to, in order to activate the whole body. Audible breath in. If you're a stretcher, then you stretch during sway. If you're a dancer, you start to dance. Audible breath in. Type of advanced core hooping that we're about to do, you use the space in front of you, you move in that space. And the deeper you get into your core hooping, the more you realize that you also need to push in your night space, the space behind you. Audible breath in. So as I'm swaying, I'm leaning forward into my day or leaning back into my night, or my hands are traveling into day. Open. Audible breath in. Actually, let me. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do, sweet. Okay, I want to do a few things that I used to do for this skills test specifically. And so I'm going to break from form a little bit. And I was having a nice flowy, I'm about to bust all that up for you guys because we're going to do some things together now to get ready for this that I used to do on the road. Some of you guys will remember this. The first thing that we're going to do is bounce up and down. And I'm just bouncing from foot to foot. No, this isn't a workshop. And if you haven't done this before, like just running in place, you'll be surprised at just how much, how quickly it can fatigue you or just make you hurt or whatever, right? And so if I can't actually run in place, but I want to sort of feel the same sort of feeling, we're just trying to get the heart rate up. So you could just bounce from side to side, but you're trying to wake up the heart. And on the road, I mean, Jackie, Lisa, Ann would remember that this used to go on forever. I would make people run in place forever on core days just so that they could get warmed up. But that's how sort of important that I think it is. Secondly, I want you to take a wide stance, and a wide enough stance that you can really feel your weight shift from one leg to the other. I'm shifting my weight from one side of my body to the other. And then one thing I can do, and this, like going back to this sort of sway back and forth, is as one hip moves over to that side, I can send it back around. I can twist it this way and then pop it back the other way. And I think if I demo it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So as the hip comes over, it then, I guess, externally rotates and then pulls. I think that's right. And then I push into this one, so it looks like this. And so I'm not just swaying back and forth, but as I get over to one side, that side is then rotating. If anybody actually did that or felt what I was talking about, let me know, or if there's a verbiage that would help other people find it. I'm not sure about that one. Accidentally, Bree. Oh, sweet. I'm glad you're here. Okay, the other thing we did is we're going to kind of make these sort of, well, first let's do a shakeout. I'm just going to shake my hands kind of as loosely as they can, and if I can shake them enough that they start to make noise, that's even better. Then we're going to take these activated hands and we're just going to do sort of gentle massage, you know, or just whatever, you know, pressing, compression with our hands or whatever feels good. And we're going to try to do that up and down the body, right? We're going to take 30 or 40 seconds to do this. So I'm down here. I don't have to, you know, I don't have to be boring, right? Like I could go high and then go low or whatever. The other image that you can do, if it helps you to warm up, is, you know, if the self-massage isn't, you know, if it's not giving you enough freedom of movement, then you can do kind of the light bathe, you know, where the hands are just kind of coming over each other. This next one's kind of jarring, may not be for everybody, but you can make little fists, just sort of loosely held fists, and then just go kind of, is that reflexology that does that? They kind of beat the shit out of you a little bit. But all I'm really trying to do right now is just sort of stimulate everything that I have, and then we're going to jump into the skills test. All right, so I'm gonna, before we get into the test itself, I'm obviously gonna give you a warm-up with core. I really recommend, if you have one laying around, I really recommend grabbing a blindfold. If you haven't done blindfolded core hooping, it's pretty great. You know, again, I mean, it's the rhythm of it, and just it's so easy to get like lost, and it's, you know, oh my gosh, next thing you know, it's like 20 minutes later. Okay. But now this is kind of a slow core warm-up song, but I'll try to explain while we're doing it why I picked this one. One thing you should know going, put my mic slot in it. One thing that you should know just going in is that this whole thing can be done in both currents. So right now you can be core hooping any way you want to. So in addition to trying, once we get into the test, to do it in both currents, there's also something called being rooted. And if you're a beginner watching this class right now, rooted hooping is difficult. And what that means is that your feet root into the ground and they stay there. I wear these slides because there's concrete in my house. But I root these feet. Now they can move a little bit every now and then, but for the most part, they're rooted. That doesn't mean though that they are like stuck. Like I can pull, on the replay you might be able to see my heels, but I can pull my heels up off the ground. I'm still rooted, right? If you're brand new to hooping and you want to get good at core hooping, one of the quickest ways and best drills that you can do is to just constantly change your foot position and rock that as long as you can, right? Like, so if I put one foot in front of the other, if I want to like punch down into it or whatever, I create a position and then I just rock that as long as I can, you know, without hurting or whatever. And then for me, my legs aren't burning out, so I'm gonna stay down here for a second current. But I'm rooted right now, so I can create a different rooting, one foot in front of the other, wide rooting, really narrow rooting, okay? And you're here. God, I love this track. Okay. So I don't want to burn you guys out too much right now. So grab some water, because now we're going to start this kind of mix that we got. I'm really hoping I don't get in trouble for all this music. Okay. All right. All right, let's see if we get this going. Oh, there we go.
Yes, I do.
Where you from?
Born and raised in Chi-Town.
Show me.
All right. Tonight we're going to use house music. I'm just going to keep it in sort of the background as we, move through the skills test. So the first, and let me know if the mic mix is okay. It sounds like the music could come up a little bit. All right, so the first thing that we're going to try to do, or what I would do with everybody, was see if you can start to take intentional steps. And this looks easier than it actually is. But what I would do is everybody would be kind of like you are now. I would turn my back to the crowd, right? And I would say something like step one or step left, and the whole room would step left. And then I'd say step right. Do it with me if you can. Step left. And then I can reverse that current if I want to, right? That's up to you tonight. Step left. And so then what we would start to do is I would call out directions and we would start to move. It was really cool. It was kind of like we would move sort of like flock-like, right? And so I'm not going to do this whole thing right now with you, but just to give you a sense of how you can build your core skills up. Oh, they really are playing the classics. I would say something like left, and they would just start moving as long as I called left until I gave a new direction. So I would say something like left, back, right, front, forward, whatever. Left, back, right, forward. And then if you're a Superflow nerd, you can do that in anti-spin, right? So whatever direction the hoop is going, you can then draw yourself. I'm actually moving this. I was doing that, I guess. Now I'm moving in the same. I'm stepping in the same direction as the hoop. This would be me stepping. Yeah. So here, I'm kind of anti-spinning, if that makes sense. That's dope. Okay. Really don't want to burn you guys out. How are we doing out there? All right. Hopefully you guys are still with me. So then we're going left and we're going right and we're doing the things. And then we would usually start to talk about shoulders, right? Because that was probably the most common. So you can turn while doing this, but I would say, come up, come up, come up, come up. And the whole room would come up. And then kind of depending on, the number of, nice Carla, then by the number of sort of black belts, sometimes we would come up and we would just stay up. I mean, I keep going back to Jackie, but she's had so many workshops in so many different cities with me. She'll know what she'll know what I'm talking about. Good, Rita. But once we would come up, the reason I bring all that up is like once we would come up to the shoulders, sometimes we rock a whole song or 2 songs just staying on the shoulders at that point. Now, this is where this is where things can start to get a little bit more difficult because what the skills test involved was rooted shoulders. And I'm not going to break up the flow too much, but so it's tough for beginners. If you didn't learn rooted, some people actually learn to keep their feet still when they learn to shoulder hoop, but most people, they move their feet. I suggest they move your feet first. But what would happen is we're up here on the shoulders, come up. Now you're in mountain right now too. That will really help you in the skills test. Mountain. You see how my arms are sort of pushed out here? They're not locked there at all. They're just kind of like on these sort of like pillow springs of invisible air. They're just sort of helping me keep this wider base underneath the hoop. And then I can reverse that, of course. Boom. So then when it gets rooted is when I stop moving my feet. And this can be really hard if you're just, learning shoulders, or even if you've just learned it. This is just kind of a lot harder. It requires a lot more awareness, and sometimes using the blindfold can be really helpful here. To pull. Oh, nice, Casey. Sweet. I'll bring the music back up. So see, this can be really hard, and I'm going to switch currents. It's funny. The hate that house music inspires in some people is just straight funny. I love it. Okay. All right, I don't want to get too lost there. I guess I should point out a few things. Let me see if my bird's eye is working here. And it is. All right, so I'll show you a few things that will really help in the skills test here. Take breaks as you need it, right? I'm trying to go for cardio right now. But it's to think about your push. Like I'm sending my fingers pushing this way, right? But I could also push out. So like instead of just going straight out from my body or my arms, I can push out. And this is what we call the 45s. So I'm like pushing out towards, this imagined 45-degree line from like, say, my chest or something out, right? And you could shift that line. That same line can be shifted to the back here. This is me putting an emphasis on night.
Is it over now?
There we go. Okay.
So,
all right. Wow. So rusty. Reverse this.
Is it over? Is it over now?
Okay.
Is it over?
Sometimes my second's better. All right. All right, now this is where it's going to get a little more intense. Take your breaks if you need them. Where was I? Oh, I love this. It's so hard to turn this down. All right, I'm going to try to keep the music up just enough so y'all can keep moving, but let me know if it doesn't work. Okay. So, one of the things that we would try to work on would be to move to seated shoulders. So there's a couple ways you can get there, right? I can put all my weight on my front leg, and then I sort of shift all my weight into that leg as it lowers me down. Then I go back to both knees, and then from here, different people have different ways of getting into a seated thing. I'm probably just gonna, I think I'm just gonna, sit back cross-legged. That didn't work. But I'm here. I'll sit. There we go. Now, when I'm down here, I really have to think about that 45-degree push that I was talking about. Really just pushing all different directions because I've got to work a lot harder because I don't have my roots anymore, right? If you start to get tired or you get ab sore or whatever, you can reverse it or just take a break. Now, what was awesome? It's like watching people get that for the first time or show me that they got it for the first time. It was like the look on people's faces when they could sit and do shoulder hooping. And then for any geeks out there is a way to get up, of course, and I think you usually, I don't know, it's hard to do in slides, but I'm not making excuses, but I just turn quickly, establish, and then come up. Sometimes it looks better than other times. And then, when I was younger, I used to like if there was a good floor, I used to like to go down, spin around a little bit, and then pop up and spin around a little, That works.
Bang the box.
Okay. All right. Grab some water. I want to make sure I don't burn you guys out. And then I want to see if I can show you my, okay. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Let's see what happens. All right, so let's start with this one. Don't say I don't work hard for your donations here. Okay, I'm not going to leave this here very long. But one of the reasons I have this on is this swirling motion. Is that what we're about to work on is called hoop chi. And this is when I bring the hoop up and down the body without touching it, right? I bring it, let's see, bring it up and then down. And the reason that I've got this goofy graphic going on right now is so that you can see that if you visualize the point of contact rolling up the body, you start to visualize that green thing on you, it will really, really help, right? It's like visualization, right? So as I want to come up, I'm coming up, but I'm thinking about the hoop as it wraps all the way around, and then when I bring it back down, I'm rolling with it. Now, for various reasons, you might not be able to do this rooted. That wouldn't matter. Like some people just, their chest was just way too sensitive to do something like that, so they wouldn't, do it that way. You do not have to stay rooted. One time, if you're trying to pass the the hoop up and down, and you want to skip a body part, right? That's when you can really use this path of contact that I'm showing you, this crazy green thing, right? I can come up, and I stall, and then hoop. I don't know if that made any sense. Let's put the music back on and see what's going on. I got one more. When my hoop is at the bottom of this big spiral, right? Think about, see how it's big, and then you can sort of see in this graphic that as the spiral tightens, it gets more narrow up there. And sometimes that can really help you pull the hoop up, is to imagine that. So my bottom half, you know, like my hips and everything, they're going to take this big initial sort of turn, boom, and then tighten as I move up, right? So here, like at the bottom of this crazy spiral thing I've got here, just imagine going big and then tighten. And sometimes that'll help you pop the hoop right up. Oh my God, that is so funny. Related to what Heidi just said, I saw this tweet the other day that was hilarious. It was this old guy. He said, "Do you remember when we used to refer to our knees as left and right, and not good and bad?" Okay, so all right, I know I'm kind of moving things fast, but I know I have a limited amount of energy with you guys. But y'all might have a limited. I mean, we both. This is athletic shit. So I think I should talk a little bit about angle hooping, because that was a big portion of this test. So, you know, what we've done so far would be all of this is usually done in about 25 to 30 minutes. So kind of this pace is sort of how it would go. I mean, I'm telling you, it was grueling, you know, and so it was just really inspiring. You know, after people would, you know, we'd stay, we'd move as a flock, people go to the ground, they shoulder hoop, they come back up. And now it's come the angle hooping section, okay? And then the way we would talk about angles, and I'll bring the music back again. The way that we would, Swifty's not here. The hoop pass. Okay, angle hooping, right? So we would do it in usually a rooted way, which is what we've established already. And then I would call out to the group, earth, 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 earth. And what that would mean is that they didn't have to hurry up. That just meant that I'm kind of like, I'm ahead of them in the woods, and I'm yelling like, I'm over here, I'm over here. So you move at your own pace when I do this, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I said earth, 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 earth. And then I would, you know, usually I forget. It's been a while. I don't remember how what I would say to. Maybe I would just say come back up or something like that. I don't remember that part. But we would try to work from going, you know, from a nice, now we call it lake. I don't think I called it lake back then, but to an angle. So I call earth, 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 earth. It's funny that I can't remember what I used to say, but it doesn't matter. If I said lake, 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 to go from angle to creating a flat plane is more of a sort of a, you know, that's where you change your rhythm. Angles are created with up and down, right? When you want to flatten the plane out of an angle, one way you can do it is start to wrap the hoop around you like cotton candy or something. So if I'm in this earth angle right here, I'm doing bounce, and I'm getting bounce on my 45s. We'll talk about that later. Shit. Oh, and then I'll call lake, and then I'll start to wrap around my center line.
DJ Gil Lugo. Coming at you with another
Earth, 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 bounce, 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 bounce. And if I bring it back, I start to swirl around my center, and that'll flatten the hoop out again. This is called chiing an angle, okay? And then the second angle that we would work on, of course, would be sky angle. And so then I would say to everybody, sky, 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 and they would lean back. And this is when your 45s really show up. It looks kind of weird to do this without a hoop going around. But I start to, as I'm leaning back into the hoop, my abs, instead of just pushing up, they're definitely pushing up, but they're pushing like towards the corners of my room, right? Towards the upper corners of the room. So I'm here. Oh, this is dope. Sky, 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 sky. I create some bounce. You know how to reverse? They would always shout hell yeah back to me. In Canada, this woman named Babs, y'all probably know her. She started yelling hell yeah every time I would reverse it, and it just took off, and they do it everywhere. But I'm in an angle right now. Reverse. Reverse. Cool. So, depending on how much I liked that particular room, we would stay there or not stay there. Sky angle is very strenuous, and so we don't spend there too much time. If you have a question about sky angle, let me know. Since most people do it at the shoulders, that's where we would go next. So we're here, and there's loads of ways to get to the shoulders from an angle, but generally I would call for people to do it while in the angle. Okay, so if I said we're in earth right now, and I said, earth, 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 and then if I said come up, that didn't mean to lean back. That meant to come up to the shoulders, right? And some people would barrel roll to get into it. Some people just samurai, just grip it and move it into it. But that was generally what we're trying to do. If you want a simple way to do this, left and right arm, depending on what's the current's going. If the current's going to the left, you'll do your left, and then your right arm going to the right, reverse, right, and then left, right? It'll bring the hoop right up to your shoulders. I'm here. Boom. Right? Since we are in Black History Month, this is Chicago House that we're listening to right now. And Chicago, it amazes me how many people don't, how many of the younger generation didn't even realize that, that hooping didn't come over from, that House didn't come over from Germany, right? Like, it was born right here. It was born in Chicago. It was born in other areas too, of course, but Nice, 67, right on, Casey. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more. I know I'm kind of losing everybody. Oh, we're doing all right. All right, so I do want to talk about shoulders. I want to do maybe 4 or 5 more minutes of hooping, and then I'll play songs if you want to stick around for this. But so however they would get there, they would be in an angle at the shoulders. And there's a couple of things I want to sort of show and point out a little bit. So right now it's kind of hard to tell because I'm in the bird's eye, but you sort of see the angle that's happening here. No, I don't know if the quality is good enough, but like what happens sometimes is people will bring their arms so in that their back is completely just sort of wrapped into a tight, like, dough ball, right? And so what can really help you is to spread out. I don't know if you can see the difference there. This is me this is me spreading out, right? Now the hoop's not rolling. It's rolling barely on top of my chest right now. It's barely meaning it's at the super top line. Like it's almost like collarbone type placement. The hoop will want to tighten you. And what I'm suggesting you try, and sometimes it helps to push your hands out too as you do it. This is going to be a workout. And then if you can reverse it. And that's one of those places you can do like leg reverses and other things, but nice. All right. Oh, all right. Glad that one won. Thanks, Jocelyn. Oh, Jocelyn, sweet, what's up? A couple of finer points, and then we're going to talk about sky. Talked about opening, up and being wide, right? Now, this is going to sound a little different, but it's a reunion. One of the cool things you can do with hoop, to develop your hoop flow, core flow, is to actually isolate. It'll make things look awkward, but it's to isolate and say like, okay, I'm going to try to only push from this one side of the body, or I'm going to try to only push from this quadrant. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. If I'm here, right? So, no, you've just been hearing me say for the last 2 years that we want to be nice and smooth and elegant and all those sort of things and moving the whole body. In this case, we're just trying to drill right now. So I'm going to only move my arm, right? I'm going to try to only activate, like right now what I'm trying to do is only activate my base side right arm, right? For you geeks out there, this is my AM quadrant. And I'm trying to use that AM quadrant to push as much as I can. And then I can shift over and do the PM day quadrant over here. So, and then, it's easier seeing the bird's eye, but oh, this track is perfect for this. Right? And now I'm going to isolate one arm, and then I try to find my flow, see if I can stabilize the hoop with that, and then maybe try to push with one. I'll see if I can move around. Now I'm going to try to go for what would be my PM to midnight side. Push there. No, I'm doing this on regular horizontal hooping, but it really helps when you're in shoulders on an angle. This is my machine gun blast of information. Again, everybody has a different body, so they all learn in different ways. Sometimes it helps some people to think about on these angles that they're pushing down across the body and then pushing down across the body, and that the hoop is being stabilized. Like if it's wanting to walk on you, that you can stabilize it by like this whole quadrant of me pushes down and across my body. This quadrant pushes down and across my body that way. And so when I'm here, I'll try to exaggerate this so I can push like way down into my left foot right now, which would be your right, I guess. But then I can push back this way. And if your hoop is wanting to walk on you, there's a lot of reasons it does that. But one thing you can do is try to just keep your pushes. I'll show you with my hands. Oh.
Yeah.
music is just killing me right now. Okay. So I want to talk one more thing here. And since we're way over time, I'll play some free hoopy stuff so you guys can hoop. But just since I've got maybe I've got anybody left here. If you're not exhausted, sky angle can be really, really difficult for people to. Sky angle can be really difficult for people to get. So one of the things I was hopefully trying to set up in this class is this idea of 45s, right? Because what I mean by that is that the hoop is going to be going across you. Like I'm going to be trying to push in some way at some point towards one corner of the room with whatever peck or whatever, and then towards the other corner, right? And so instead of just going up and down, which is usually what happens, that's not very stable. But if I go to the corners of the room, then, more stable structure, and the hoop's going to want to stay up there, right? It's not going to want to walk on you as much. Sweet. All right, let's bring that back, and I'll show you some of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So if you Angel, you probably have a good earth. Roll out, like hooping teaches you roll with your strengths and work on your weaknesses, right? So you'll go from earth and roll it up into sky, and then the next time you roll up into sky, one thing that can really help some people, and this is kind of tricky, but is to bring your elbows up, right? Instead of keeping them down here like this, bring them up. You see how they get away from my body? And then that creates this kind of shelf right here. And so when you're once you get a feel for it, you're kind of going to be bouncing the hoop off this shelf. Instead, it won't even be hitting the chest anymore, barely hitting the back, but it'll be coming off of these two arms. So let's say I'm in my earth. Let's see, I want to make sure. Okay, yeah, so I'm in earth like you might be. I'm going to, we talked about this before. If I take my left foot behind the other foot and turn with it, you get a nice quick turn into that. That's in other classes, but we're here. I take my turn, boom. Now my arms are going to come up. Let's see if I can change my angle to you guys so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. So instead of my elbows being down here, no, they're going to be up here, right? It's a subtle difference, but it allows my arms to kind of get up here and really start to, it takes the load off my back, right? Like this is very strenuous. The more my arms can do without screwing it up, the better. And then what I really like, just for fun, is to then articulate the hands, because then you can really start to do some cool anti-spin things. Hopefully I'll have my mojo on. All right, so I'm in second current right now. I used to do this thing called the Minority Report. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, like where Tom Cruise is like pulling something over here. He's like, take that, put that there, down. There's this anti-spin. Okay. Well, sort of anti-spin. There we go. Makes my eyes cross though. Alright, I'll bring the music up. Let me know if you have any questions. I think we're good on instructing. That's the skills test, y'all. That's it. You passed.
Old school Chicago style. It's DJ Gilugo.
Yeah. Okay, let me address that really fast. So Rita, if you can get if you can get chest hooping, sorry, this is important. If you can get chest hooping and keep it there on an angle, but shoulders is messing it up, that is a super big indicator that you're not moving your shoulders enough. Because what happens is, I'll show you, I could be wrong, but let me show you what happens. If like the hoop is going around, everything's super cool here. But if I put my arm into the hoop's rotation and I just sort of sink it there and let it hug the body, watch how difficult it is. Even though not much has changed, I have to work a lot harder, right? Because it's dead. Anytime the hoop, if we're not aware of it, anytime it creates a seal on the body, it goes dead, right? And so I would be willing to bet that if you were able to rock it like this, right, and feel pretty good and in control, and you come down, it means that you're locking. Maybe it's, poor you, it might just be a half second, but in hoop time, that's a long time. But try to think like, when I come down into it, my arms, I need that space, I need this air. Nice, Sam. Sweet. All right, let me bring the music back. I'm gonna shift over to something a little bit slower and we'll play like maybe a song or two. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you so much for the donations that have been coming in. You don't know how much those really help me, and I really appreciate it. I feel like we got a good thing going here. Thank you, Angel. You're very welcome. Rita, you're very welcome. Oh, we forgot legs. Wow. Oh. At least you get the gold star. You remembered that we left off legs. Okay, before I forget, this is I just posted in the comments a link to the mix that we've been listening to tonight, so show that artist some love if you like old school Chicago house.
Now clap your hands, why don't you get out to you gotta rock with me, man, Jeffrey D. And I'm a real sharp fella, and he's go-getter. New trendsetter, and you want the better, so jump in the air and stamp your feet, cause we're rocking to the rhythm of the salsa beat. It's like comb your hair, boy, that's what we need. We're rocking to the rhythm of the salsa beat. Well, we're out to prove that we're super smooth. The other guys rest their why. You've seen the rest, now try the best, and here's the reason why. Let me tell you, I'm a red hot lover, straight in the word, so boy, you better listen now. My aftershave, Sharudi made, and my shirt's a Margaret Howe. The Rossetti shoes, my Oxford blues, rockin' through the night. And on my back's bird,
Yeah, as the skills test would go on, we would include the head and the legs and other things like that. Thanks, Heidi. Right. I'm imagining you guys have got a good sweat going. Hopefully you feel you got a workout tonight. I'm gonna sort of chill it out and then do maybe this and maybe another super slow song. This is an old school song I like a lot. But thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll move into free hoop territory now. But I really appreciate it.
It feels like now I'm reaching the sky. It's not enough. What else should I try? I'll never stop. It makes me so alive, can't get enough. I'm so confused now. Say to me, yeah. Say to me, it's what you do to me, it's how you make me feel. All the things that you say and all the things that you don't, it's what you do to me, it's how you make me feel. All the things that you say and all the things that you don't. Say to me, yeah. Say to me, yeah. To me. You make me feel.
Thank you, Rita.
There is nothing to
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Carla. Everybody, thank you so much.
Space and time with you.
Carla, stay safe.
And who cares what they say? We are lovers anyway. Do to me. You don't say. It's how you make me feel. Do to me. You don't say. It's how you make. Say to me, yeah. Say to me, it's what you do to me, it's how you make me feel. All the things that you say and all the things that you don't, it's what you do to me, it's how you make me feel. All the things that you say and all the things that you don't. Say to me,
Nice, Rachel. Sweet. I'm glad you got to do it with us.
say to me, yeah.
Okay. We'll do maybe one more for those of you that want to stretch or something like that. But thank you guys for joining me. Peace out, everybody. Thank you so much. Some donations just came in. I appreciate that, y'all. Thank you.